What's going on, man? This is Andy Mineo. I'm hanging out with Hot 95.9, Orlando's positive hip-hop channel. I think removing that label is the next thing for the future. Because, I don't know, you know, this is a big conversation with lots of layers and perspectives. And so obviously in this interview I wouldn't be able to unpack all those things, but I think historically Christian music has been the only musical genre defined by its content and not its style. And so that's a really interesting thing, because what it does is puts people like Lecrae in these weird positions, and artists who are making noise in hip hop, but their content isn't, you know, their content is what has been recognized to be, you know, gospel or Christian. So now you got a rapper like Lecrae winning gospel Grammys because they're saying his content is like gospel, but he's clearly not a gospel artist. Gospel actually has a sound, you know what I'm saying, which is, you know, stuff that we've all, you know, listened to growing up. So it's a very interesting and big conversation. And I think one of the things that I've always harped on has been, I think Christians, a lot of times they're so eager for the content that they'll give passes to the music because the lyrics are most important. And then I think in the mainstream, a lot of times, the way that a music makes you feel or how it engages you is what's most important, and lyrics and content can come secondary. And that's why we have a lot of music out there I think is, you know, it feels good and it's like, but you would never want to say that stuff, you know, no matter who you are, to your kid or, you know, whatever it is. So it's a really interesting and big conversation. I think the next step for Christian music, though, is having an open mind and perspective, or like developing the perspective on what music is, what it was made for, and how we define it. Because, yeah, I think I'll give you an example. Recently, you know, my buddy, he's working on some music. His name is Brian Perez. Put out some music, and some people showed up to the listening concert and they said, "Where's Jesus in your music? You're not talking about Jesus." And my pastor intervened, who was there, his younger brother, and he said, "You're not listening." He says, "It's here, you're not listening. You don't know." The problem is, I don't know if you know the material well enough. And so typically Christian music, or Christendom in general, has had this, like cultural Christianity, like American cultural Christianity, has had this thing where we want our Christianity on bold writing and on a banner. And that's a lot of the way that I decided to make music early on, and the way a lot of other people did. And that bold banner was what has excited and rallied people towards us, but at the same time, it was also, it kind of became the standard of how Christians should make music, who make hip hop. And so if you want to express yourself in a different way or in a different light, all of a sudden it has become you know, an issue, ultimately. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the way to do it. And I think if our Christianity is real and if it's deep, it's inside of us, and it's in a way that has affected everything, not just what we talk about over the top of records, but the way that we live life, the way we spend our money, the way we deal with our relationships. And it should come out in any topic I talk about on a record, whether I'm talking about family, life, time, money, sex, relationships, all that stuff. So I think I want to see Christian music, I guess, or art, like artists who are Christian, you know, and the listeners of Christian music, to understand the content deeply enough to be able to hear it in whatever they listen to, if that makes sense. You know, C.S. Lewis says for the Christian, every song is two songs, right? Because you hear it one way, but then the way that the gospel has deeply affected and changed you, you're able to hear that through a different lens now, understand it differently because of the way you process.
Your music is taking over your mind
with zero compromise.
It's taking over your spirit.
Hot 95.9.
It's taking over your whole activity.